that I hope his character may be equal to.' 'He has a very nice face and style, really,' said Mrs. Kenwigs. 'He certainly has,' added Miss Petowker. 'There's something in his appearance quite dear, what's that word again?' 'What word?' inquired Mr. Lillyvick. 'Why, dear me, how stupid I am!' replied Miss Petowker, hesitating. 'What do you call it when lords break off door knockers and beat policemen, and play at coaches with other people's money, and all that sort of thing?' 'Aristocratic?' suggested the collector. 'Ah, aristocratic,' replied Miss Petowker. 'Something very aristocratic about him, isn't there?' The gentlemen held their peace, and smiled at each other, as who should say, 'Well, there's no accounting for tastes.' But the ladies resolved unanimously that Nicholas had an aristocratic air, and nobody caring to dispute the position, it was established triumphantly. The punch being by this time drunk out, and the little Kenwigses, who had for some time previously held their little eyes open with their little forefingers, becoming fractious, and requesting rather urgently to be put to bed, the collector made a move by pulling out his watch, and acquainting the company that it was nigh 2 o'clock; whereat some of the guests were surprised, and others shocked, and hats and bonnets being groped for under the tables, and in the course of time found, their owners went away, after a vast deal of shaking of hands, and many remarks how they had never spent such a delightful evening, and how they marvelled to find it so late, expecting to have heard that it was 10:30 at the very latest, and how they wished that Mr. and Mrs. Kenwigs had a wedding day once a week, and how they wondered by what hidden agency Mrs. Kenwigs could possibly have managed so well, and a great deal more of the same kind. To all of which flattering expressions, Mr. and Mrs. Kenwigs replied by thanking every lady and gentleman seriatim for the favour of their company, and hoping they might have enjoyed themselves only half as well as they said they had. As to Nicholas, quite unconscious of the impression he had produced, he had long since fallen asleep, leaving Mr. Newman Noggs and Smike to empty the spirit bottle between them, and this office they performed with such extreme goodwill, that Newman was equally at a loss to determine whether he himself was quite sober, and whether he had ever seen any gentleman so heavily, drowsily, and completely intoxicated as his new acquaintance. Chapter 15.